Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Last night I watched an interview conducted by Piers with Tucker Carlson in Saudi Arabia. The interview lasted about 1 hour and a half. I watched it in its entirety and I have 5 little video clip to share with you. The subjects or the topic of each segment that I picked have to do with, first, Tucker Carlson claims that Biden administration wanted to kill Trump, and he's going to give his assessment, his opinion on that. The other one, he's going to talk about who Tucker Carlson thinks were the two lone assassins or attempted assassins of Donald Trump, the guy on the rooftop and the other one on Trump's golf course, according to Tucker, remember. The other one, the third topic, is how Britain, something I said many times before, how Britain and Churchill destroyed Britain. So Britain became bankrupted after the Second World War, according to Tucker Carlson, and I support that, and I think he's right about it. He talks about 10 years of food rationing in Great Britain, the Western civilization, how he screwed up. How do you win when you then have to ration 10 years your food? And that's for 2 video clips here. The clips are no more than maybe 1 to 2 minutes long. And the other one, he's going to talk about Vladimir Putin, the evil guy over there. And he's talking about his interview with Vladimir Putin and how the US government, according to Tucker Carlson, tried to stop him, spied on him, leaked his communication with the Russians to New York Times twice, which is illegal, according to Tucker Carlson, and the US government threatened him to put him in prison. All right, so all this, I usually don't make a list. I have everything in here, but in this one I had, because I had to look over from this minute to that minute. This is just a general topic. So we're going to talk with the first one. I'm going to start with the Biden administration wanted to kill Trump, and according to Tucker Carlson, and why. So here is Tucker Carlson in Saudi Arabia with Piers, and that's from minute 17:47 about to 18:35.
It's very common for assassins of presidents to have no motive at all.
And I don't hear anything. Well, I don't hear anything.
Extraordinary.
And at the age of 20, to have no social media profile. He never went on the internet.
Nothing.
It's kind of weird.
No record at all.
Yeah, no cutlery in his own home. Advanced bomb-making skills. Operating drones. Bringing a rangefinder. Making a pretty great offhand shot at 150 yards under duress. It's just normal in America. I mean, the whole thing is so nuts, actually. The fact that the Secret Service allowed this to happen, which they did.
The guy's on the most. Oh, if I was running the Secret Service for the day, what's the first place you'd look? Oh, it would be the flat roof with a direct line on the stage.
You think? And there was not one agent positioned or assigned to look at that. None. They had no idea.
But why?
Well, because they wanted to kill Trump, obviously. The Biden administration wanted to kill Trump. I mean, there's no doubt.
Do you genuinely think?
Of course, I know that, and I know that by what I saw. In other words, if you leave your child inside a locked car on a hot day and go into a casino and spend 3 hours gambling and the kid suffocates, I can say, Piers, you killed your child. And you say, well, I didn't mean to. It doesn't matter. You didn't care enough about your child that you went back and rescued him from suffocation. It's demonstrable. Your intent can be divined from your actions. If you allow a roof 140 yards away to remain unsurveilled, a guy with a rangefinder and a drone to come into your area while the presidential candidate is speaking, you don't care about saving the life of that man.
I actually thought what happened.
So this is the first one. What do you think? I think the argument is valid. Now, that is by indifference, by being unprofessional. But this is according to Tucker Carlson. I'm going to go to the second clip, which is at minute 20:08. And we're going to discuss that one. And that has to do with who these guys were, according to Tucker. The guys were the guys who tried to assassinate Trump. The golf course guy and the other guy who shot from the roof.
On the Democrat side, they wouldn't stop talking about it.
Because everybody knows what this is. These are not lone gunmen any more than, Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman. The lone gunman killed by a lone gunman 2 days later. Okay now. I mean, it's just it's so horrifying that clearly both of these guys were agents of the permanent government in Washington or globally. And there's like no honest person who could deny that. It's just so obvious. And I think that people don't want to wrestle with that because it's incredibly disturbing. And I think it's also possible that people in the Trump administration don't want to deal with it. I mean, they're still guarded by the Secret Service.
Yeah.
And whatever elements tried to murder Trump are still in the positions they occupied.
I watched him the other day walk.
So he makes the same point I made very often regarding the Secret Service who guard you. Those are not your people. Those are an agency's people who had things in the ear and they receive orders not from you, from a faceless voice, individual somewhere. I made this because that's the way it always worked. Who pays more for your mercenaries or your guard would have you alive or not alive. And he says the global interest, whomever won it, and he talked about obviously the Oswald and the Rubinstein who killed Oswald. Rubinstein was a Jewish bar owner. Anyway, go and read into that. He said there are no lone gunmen like the other two guys that tried to, according to Tucker, who tried to assassinate Trump. No media profile, nothing. One is like 20-some. The other one was in Ukraine, if I remember correctly. All right, so that's with this. I already said the presidents of the United States of America are sitting ducks in the hands of the Secret Service. If someone receives an order from the Secret Service to do something, he's going to execute that. He's not going to ask, oh, excuse me, wait. I don't even know if they have a two-way communication or only one way. Say, hey, excuse me, are you sure I have to do this? Can you provide me the evidence? I have to take, subject A, the bald eagle, and put him in a safe space for safekeeping, keyword in a, dungeon. Do you think he's gonna ask, wait a second, I don't think that sounds right. Hey, excuse me, sir. Is that how it works? I don't think so. All right, so that's the second one. Let's go to the third one, minute 30:39. And that has to do with, all right, 30, something like this. Britain lost World War II, according to Tucker. And he says, if you won World War II, where's the Western civilization? We fought, he said, the Nazis because the Nazis were a threat to us. Christians and so on, and Churchill gave British blood to go and fight for Poland, to defend Poland, and then give Poland at the end of the war to the Soviets, who Stalin, who according to Tucker Carlson killed more people than the guy that Churchill asked his Englishmen to go and fight against. So again, this is a logic that I also mentioned many times in my videos, where you say, well, we fought against the oppressors, the guys who wanted to dominate the world, the Nazis. And then what did you do? You were allied with the Soviets, who were bad as well. And then after that, you sat at the table and you gave Stalin half of Europe. Stalin was not Russian. You gave Stalin and his clique half of Europe to be murdered and so on. This is Eastern European and Central European. So yes, those guys who sold us into slavery to those guys in charge of Soviet Union at that time, they committed, I think, murder by association. And not only, they made a decision, they gave us away. If they fought Hitler to prevent tyranny and dictatorship and all that, they didn't fight the Soviets? Why wouldn't you? I think because in Soviet Union, they were the right people in charge of Soviet Union. Go and check that out. So let me put here Tucker.
Dying.
Well,
You were rationing until the.
And here it is.
any of it in Churchill, because
Well, so here's-
actually, if
let
you,
me
look at, if you look at the 60s, you would say that Britain was absolutely roaring post-war, right? It's
Not
only
really.
it's
Your
a-
manufacturing was dying.
Well,
You were rationing until the 50s. Like, how did this work?
well, because we've just been in the World War.
I'm saying that's an awfully slow recovery for a winning nation. If you won, why did you have rationing for 10 years after? But here's the real problem, to be much more specific about Churchill, who is someone I really would love to have met. I think he's an extraordinary person and an incredibly charming person, the most charming. I don't know how you could say to the English people, it is essential that your sons go die to preserve the territorial integrity of Poland, and then hand Poland to Stalin, of all people. I don't know how you could be in an alliance with Stalin, the greatest mass murderer in history. I don't know how Roosevelt could be in an alliance with Stalin. Once you're in an alliance with Stalin, you lose all moral authority.
So what do you do about
You are
it?
not allowed to lecture me
All right.
about anything if you're in a military alliance with Joseph Stalin,
Let me take you back
who
then.
murdered all the
Let me make you president.
tens of millions of people.
All right, let me make you president of the United
All right, so that's with that. I tell you why they were in alliance. They say, well, we had to because we had to defeat the Germans. Okay, and after you defeated the Germans, you had an atomic bomb. Why didn't you just screw up Soviet Union and those criminals in charge? Because some of those criminals in charge of Soviet Union were the accredited criminals that the guys in New York loved a lot and the guys in London. I'm not talking about Washington, D.C. That's why they were the right people in charge of Soviet Union, right people for the guys in the United States of America who were also pulling the strings with the presidents and the imbeciles in the Congress. The same thing with Churchill. You want to know what Churchill did? I refer you to Churchill's War. That's a book written by David Irving, the bad historian David Irving. Go and check it out for a change and find out who sponsored and who promoted Mr. Churchill. The same thing like the Balfour Declaration. Go and check it out. All right, let's go to the next one. Next one comes at 3229, and that is, let me see, 32 to 29, and that is Churchill would have the Brits die for other countries, for Poland, but then hand it to the Soviets.
Look, I'm not against fighting World War II. I'm not. I'm only saying specifically with reference to Churchill. You can't go to your country, your countrymen, and say, go ahead and die to preserve the dignity of Polish territorial integrity, of the dignity of Poland, the nation of Poland, and then give it to Stalin, and it languishes under an iron curtain, and people are murdered and rounded up and tortured to death for 40 years.
That wasn't what Churchill did.
Yes, it is what Churchill
Because
did.
he came in after the war started.
No.
He came after the war started, the weasel says, Piers Morgan, but he immediately says, no, he sold us into slavery to Stalin after the war, during the Yalta, Malta, and Potsdam.
Tehran, Potsdam, Yalta.
Tehran.
They made a deal to hand Eastern Europe, which he had brought his country to war to protect, to Stalin. There is no getting around the fact that Stalin is maybe the worst person in all human history, but certainly in the running, up there with Hitler. I mean, you could kill more people than Hitler. I mean, they're all evil.
I don't disagree.
So you're in a military alliance with Joseph Stalin? You shut the fuck up. You have no right to lecture me about anything, okay? That's where we start. And that's been sort of a lied over. The Roosevelt administration armed Stalin in Lend-Lease. Tell me how that's defensible. It's not defensible.
But the question I was asking is,
But to hand Poland, which you went to war to protect,
No, I hear
to
you.
Stalin, like, why doesn't someone answer that question? They're like, oh, we had no choice. Really?
But what my question though is,
Then you're a failed leader.
But what would you have done about Hitler?
So, the same I said, you go into war to defend Poland and then you give Poland to the other guy? What's going on here? What's going on here? I said this many, many times in my videos, so I don't have to go over and over. Now, talking about Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president of the United States of America at that time, fourth time elected as president, he called the criminal tyrant, he was a criminal. He was a tyrant, Stalin. So, all right, Djugashvili, Mr. Djugashvili, that was his last name, the real name. He was a Georgian. He used to call him Uncle Joe. That's how Roosevelt, who was a socialist, okay, that helped his Uncle Joe, who was a communist. All right, and I'm going to go to the last part of this video, let's say the fifth video clip at 1 hour, glasses, 1 hour, 2 minutes. So that's what is going to be the last one, talking about Putin, how he said, I have nothing with Putin, he didn't do anything wrong to me, and talking about the US government who tried to stop him, prevent him from interviewing Putin. And he makes some very good points, Tucker, I'm talking.
Wouldn't you?
It wasn't even a question.
What did you,
I
what
wouldn't
did you
because the US government tried to stop me by spying on me and then leaking it to the New York Times twice, which is illegal. So that's why I wouldn't have gone, and threatening to put me in jail for going, which I ignored and went anyway. That was all normal. I mean, that's my job. I just don't understand why people wouldn't want you to go.
Right.
If you're calling for less information, that puts you on, not on God's side, on the other side. Like, why are you against more information? Why is that threatening to you? Because you're sitting atop an edifice built of lies. That's why.
Lies.
You know that it'll come down if the truth emerges. So I felt that was such a clarifying. Now, I was out of the country for almost a month off the internet. So I missed all the reaction to me, and I never look at I don't read about myself anyway, ever. But I got the sense from people who called me that, you know, I was attacked by people like, how dare he talk to Putin, our enemy? No one asked me whether Putin's our enemy. Why is Putin my enemy? He's never done anything to me. He's never called me a racist. Oh, you're a Putin puppet. No, I'm not. I'm an American. But there's no reason, I have no reason to be mad at Vladimir Putin or anybody else until they attack me or my country. And I just don't accept that. There was never a vote. We're a democracy. In my country, we never had a vote on whether, you know, we, as a matter of policy, hate Putin. It was a bunch of lunatics, some of whom I know personally, Tory and Newland, and these full-blown wackos, these enemies of democracy, decided one day we need to take out Putin because I'm mad at him for some reason no one ever explained. I'm just not going along with that because I live in a free country and I don't have to go along with it. And so anyone telling me that I have to go along with it, I immediately just tune out. Like, I don't care what you say. Your opinion is totally irrelevant to me. That's how I feel.
Have you ever considered running?
So, no, he didn't consider for running for office. I give you the answer. So, my friends, he's right. Tucker Carlson is right. And Piers Morgan talks with Tucker in this 1 hour and a half video almost. And both say that they feel most liberated by having whatever channels they have now, YouTube channel, X channel, and so on, not working for the corporate legacy media. You say, I feel the most liberated. My problem is, you are at, for instance, I know Piers Morgan, he said, well, I'm so happy I have this YouTube channel, it's my channel, I do whatever I want. Yeah, but you can be closed today if they want. They can close you today if they want. If they can just put, and what are you going to do next? Jump on Rumble, on Reddit, on what, on X? What are you going to do? So, yeah, it's good. But nevertheless, this is it. The interview in Saudi Arabia. There's going to be another interview when Piers Morgan will be interviewed by Tucker Carlson in the making. It says part 2. I think it was very, very revealing and interesting interview. I like when smart people, courageous people like Tucker Carlson, say things that other people said numerous times. Why? You build credibility. I mean, if you think that Tucker Carlson is an imbecile, then obviously you think I am an imbecile too. So, I mean, what I want you to do is to verify. It's just to check. You don't have to believe me at all. You don't have to believe anybody. You just go and verify. When someone tells you something, you do a diligent work in verifying, hey, is it true? And how do you know it's true? And find out, my friends. And then with that, you're going to pinpoint Tucker, how many times he lied, with how many times you verified and he told the truth. The same with me and everybody else. For me, for instance, a History Channel legacy media's so-called history, when they talk about the Second World War, they talk about historical events, I don't watch them anymore. Because I realized at one point, dozens of years back, I think when I was about 20-some, I knew about certain events, historical events, a lot. So when I listened to the History Channel, for instance, telling, or archives or whatever, telling me about the specific event that I knew this much, and they were telling me this much, and they were drawing a conclusion, ignoring the rest that would actually run against their conclusion, I said, these guys are lying by omission. So then I said, what am I going to do when I'm going to listen to, let's say I'm going to watch a History Channel program and they talk about a historical event that I don't know anything about, and I'm just interested to learn about. They can lie to me, again, by omission or straight lie, how much they want, because I can't verify. I can't verify because I don't know about the event. So I said, I can't do that because I'm going to get from the get-go the wrong information. They're wrong. So pick up books, and books, older books. It doesn't mean that they didn't have an agenda at that time too, but they're more inclined to be lacking this political correctness regarding and rewriting the history regarding certain events, for instance, from the Second World War and others, slavery and all this. All right? Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.